Welcome back to another great episode of Kicking It with Casca, your good Mal friend Mal Pal here, and Hannah. And we are lacing up the shoes today to kick it with two awesome ladies. Can you say the doctors are in the house? We have got Dr. Lyndsey Brown and Dr. Raquel Greer coming to us today. Dr. Greer is the superintendent at Maize. Whoa! And Dr. Brown, we go way back. We were in some of our counseling classes together. She is now at WSU, rocking out, doing great things. I always have students of hers tell me how amazing she is. And she actually connected me to Dr. Greer, who is another powerhouse. And so this is just where it is at today. Don't you think, old Mal Pal?
I do. And I just, who run the world? Girls. I love this. So much fun. Everybody, thanks for being with us today. We are excited for another episode with these all-star rock stars.
Now, before we get started, I was reading over Dr. Greer's bio and I was like, do tell. It said that she was the 2023 National Public News Relations top 25 superintendents to watch. Girl, we're watching. What are we watching for? Tell us all about that.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yes, that is an annual award list that's announced by the National School Public Relations Association, and that is designated to superintendents who show, in their words, dynamic, fast-paced leadership with strong communication at its core. And so that's kind of what they look for. And so apparently they think I have that. I don't know.
We think so too. We think so too.
Thank you. I feel like it's my background as a counselor that kind of brings that communication piece to the forefront in everything I do. So I have to give props to that, right? So
The counseling world. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We love that. That's
amazing.
so cool that you have that background too.
Yeah.
So before we get into talking about you ladies and your background, we are talking about the counselor admin relationship today and how important that is. And the cool thing about both the ladies on our podcast today is they both have a counseling background. And Dr. Raquel is obviously an admin now and has been for a while. And Dr. Brown, she is getting, are you still in your master's? No, but you did take you took some classes in the master's program under the admin, trying to figure out, hey, what is going on here? Let's merge these two worlds.
I did, yes. I got my master's in administration last year.
Oh, you finished it.
Yeah. It was quick after my PhD. It wasn't too many hours, but
gosh, of course you finished it. Geez Louise. So let's start off with Dr. Greer. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we'll go to Dr. Lyndsey, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I started my career in teaching elementary. So I've taught 3rd and 4th grade. Then I picked up a master's at WSU in counseling and became a counselor at an elementary school. And then picked up a master's in administration, educational leadership, and then moved to principal role at an elementary school. And then picked up my district license and then eventually my doctorate also from WSU, and was an assistant superintendent for 4 years before applying for the Maize job. I have just been in education now for, I think this is like my 28th year. Feels like I feel like at the beginning of my career, I used to hear that and be like, oh my gosh, that's a long time. And now here I am. It's gone so fast, but I truly love it and just love the working with everybody to just bring success to every kid kind of thing. It just touches your heart and moves you. And that's what I love most about my job is it's more than a job. It's like passion and makes you feel like you're making a difference. And that's what I love the most. So
that's awesome. And I love that you've jumped through all these different hoops. So then you really have like that what do I want to say? Like that broad overview. You know what everybody does. All the hamster wheels we're running on, you know about.
Yeah, I feel like I ran in those wheels for about 25 of those years. And so it does help. And I think that's part of why, like, if somebody asked me what's an idea to bring these different roles together, it just helps that I kind of lived those in different periods of my career and my life. And it does make it easier when we run in that wheel together, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
We're in that little ball instead.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Because when things get siloed, that does, I mean, it makes things hard to collaborate. So good
Yeah,
point.
for
All
sure.
right, Dr. Lyndsey, how about you? Give us some background, girlfriend.
Yeah, so it's funny. I didn't know what grades you taught, Rocky. So that was
Yeah.
fun. I was a fifth grade teacher. That's where I started out. I have my background in elementary education from K-State. Got my master's pretty quickly in school counseling. I started it pretty quickly after I started teaching, and loved it, and had kind of the privilege of jumping in to being a school counselor pretty like during my practicum. So like while I was still in school, which was cool. And I was an elementary school counselor first, in the same district that I had taught in, and then moved into a middle school counselor role for about 3 years. And then from there, moved to a high school counselor role where I was for 4 years. And I was at Maize South High School. And I won 2021 Kansas School Counselor of the Year, my last year at Maize South, which was really
Dude,
fun.
that's awesome.
Yes, we had an incredible department, and honestly, like just I loved. We had great support. It was a great place to be. Rocky actually came in as I was leaving. Like we kind of like passed each other.
Baby.
But I have the great privilege of being on the Maize Education Foundation board, and we get to give money to teachers and kids, and just support the district in that way. And so I've gotten to know her. I'm also on the Superintendent's Advisory Council in Maize, and so I get to work with her in that capacity too, which is why I gave her name to you, because I know the great work she does and her background. And so we were so excited when she came to Maize just to have that counselor lens. I will say, like, administrators that I know that have been school counselors just come with a little bit different lens, and I'm here for it. I definitely love it. And as you said, I'm now a professor at Wichita State, and I get to teach school counselors how to be school counselors. And I didn't think that I could love a job as much as I love school counseling, but I get to talk about the things that I'm passionate about all day with school counselors, and I get to see my ripple effect grow a little bit, because those baby school counselors that I get to train go out into the world, and weird full circle. One of my students just got hired as a high school counselor at Maize South, and so it's kind of funny because
Oh,
she's
that's cool.
filling in. And yes, and so it was cool to see her get that job there, because she is one of my babies. So it's just a cool full circle moment. And it's also exciting to see them in that role, because Maize is close to my heart. My husband's a third grade teacher in the district, and I have 5 kids in 5 different buildings in the district. So it's great that it's led by such a rock star. So awesome.
Thanks.
All I'm hearing is you two ladies are busy.
Yeah.
Listen to all these degrees, jumping around, all this stuff. That is awesome.
And I love how we have all different perspectives too. Love that. That is so cool. You guys are doing amazing things. So thank you so much.
That definitely
you.
helps, when you have all those different perspectives and working with people, because we all have different perspectives too. So let's dig into this whole counselor admin relationship a little bit, because I think it is essential to have a good counseling program. I mean, it is like a key piece. And you ladies are both nodding your head like, yes, it is. So tell me since we're talking about perspectives, tell me a little bit about how you make sure either Lyndsey or students have that relationship, or push towards building that relationship with their admin, or Raquel, how did you make sure that was happening, or anything you want to touch on, really?
I can jump in a little bit just from my students' perspective. Especially in teaching practicum and internship classes, this is where I hear my students talk about this relationship every single time we have class, right? Because it impacts everything that our school counselors do. And the ones that have great relationships and, they're able to work in the true role of a school counselor, we hear about that. We also hear about, when there's barriers in the way, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate that relationship. And so I want to emphasize the importance of that relationship and just say that, I really like to teach my school counselors, my future school counselors, about, having that meeting at the beginning of the year with their, that admin meeting with their principal at the beginning of the year, so that you're on the same page, so that you're making sure that you both understand what your role is going to be moving forward. But I also think it's so important for them to help administrators understand how they can be utilized. And it's so important that we understand how we can utilize our administrators, because it is just the most essential piece truly of a comprehensive program, I feel like, is having an administrator who is right there ready to help and support, and who utilizes you for the talents that you have and that you come with. So so much of that advocacy piece is just having a really good relationship and starting that from the very beginning.
So how do we get there? What do you tell your students?
That's a great question. I
know you said the piece about the, having that conversation and going through the ASCA, oh gosh, I can't even think what it's called, but the conversation piece that
Annual
you
meeting.
yes, at the very beginning of the year. That's so,
Yeah.
but that can't be, okay, we had this conversation and we filled out my form. Now what?
Right. I think, I have an administrator panel come in and talk to my students every year, and just to get their perspectives. And I think assuming positive intent and that you're both rowing in the same direction is a really good starting point. And I think something that one of my assistant principals actually at Maize South said to me one day that has stuck with me forever, and that I repeat in my classes all the time, is you learned about what a school counselor does for a 60-hour program, and I learned about what a school counselor does for maybe half a conversation in a class. And that has been really impactful to me. And I really try to share that with my students, because most of the time administrators want to utilize us. They just might not know. So I think it starts with that, advocacy piece, letting administrators know that we have an ethical code, letting them know that, or we have ethical standards, letting them know that we have standards of best practice, just, having those collaborative conversations, asking administrators where they see us fitting in, asking what they need from us, trying to make sure that we're coming to the table to help them. If we know that we have low attendance, if we know that we have a lot of office referrals, hey, can I get that office referral list? Because I can start checking in with these kids, right? So just letting administrators know that we can help them, and, letting them know how they can help us too. So we have that reciprocated relationship.
I love that. Those are great ideas. Dr. Raquel, do you have any to add?
Yeah, I think one thing I continually think of as a relationship builder, because you guys are right. The bottom of that, it has to be there, right? You have to have a trusting relationship and good communication between the principals, assistant principals, and then counselors. And one thing I always suggest is a regular meeting that you set aside on your calendar, block it out. That way, that time is spent there, and you just make time for each other. So you can do that in two ways. I just happened to walk into one of our schools on a regular meeting, and this principal sits with counselors, assistant principals, psych, just anybody in the mental health field every single Monday morning. And I watched them go through kid by kid frequent behavior trips to the office or meltdowns, frequent absences, what types of meetings do we need to support this week, 504 IEP, just all of these things. And they were like a machine, I'm taking this one, we're doing this, and I just thought, wow, that was so awesome to see, because it does take all of us rowing in that same direction, or running on the wheel, as in the same direction. And they were just hammering it out, and I thought, wow, what a difference for the kids in this building to have this huge team of people sit down once a week and talk about the ones that are struggling most and how they're going to help. So I loved that. The other thing I think of is if you don't have a regular meeting set with key players, as a counselor, I think you can ask that. I think Lyndsey just kind of hit on the one thing to catch principals' attentions is office discipline referrals. Like, hey, I'm here to help. Sign me up, they will say, right? So I just think asking about that list, or hey, can I have time with you, every week for 10 minutes and we can talk about them, and then I can build some plans on how to prevent them from getting to you. I just don't know of any administrator that would go, yeah, no, thanks. I don't need that.
No,
So,
we're going to keep chalking those up.
well, I'm just going to keep going. Don't worry about me.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to start too, especially finding a way you could team together even. Like, what is this ODR list? Why do we think this is happening? Let's dig into some more data. Great team approach. And then how can we work on this together? Is it restorative practices? Is there a group we need to do? Thinking about those kind of counselor related things as well. My next question. So when it comes,
And I think
oh, go ahead,
too.
Mel.
Nope, go ahead. You're good.
No, you're good. Go for it, girl.
And, we talk about these relationships and we talk about, the students that are in school counseling programs. What would you girls think of when those counselors maybe have been in their schools for a while and maybe things are stagnant? Or maybe, let's be real, you don't have the best relationship with your admin. What do you do? How can you help with that? What information do you guys have for our listeners that are thinking, how can I make it better? Like, what's a game plan for them?
Do you want to start, Rocky, or do you want me to start?
It doesn't matter. You go ahead. You did great starting first, so I'll follow up.
I would say, intentionality. I think intentionality is everything, so how can I intentionally, I love that Rocky talked about really trying to break out that time, and carve it out. And, as counselors, we know we're awful about sticking with a schedule. But if we can try to really make it a priority and be intentional about building that relationship, and spending time, I think Rocky hit on this too. If we can speak the administrator's language, I talk to my students about this all the time. Data sometimes isn't the thing that school counselors are most excited about, but admins love data. So if we can show them that data, show them the need is there, if we can come to them with some root cause, or some, ways that we can fill gaps in the building, I think it's very rare that an administrator is going to be like, nah, I'm good. I don't actually need that. I think that coming with data and advocating for what is needed for students and seeing, trends that you've seen and gaps that you're volunteering to fill. I think that sometimes as school counselors, it can feel like, I assume to administrators, it can feel like we're passing the buck a little bit because, we have our counselors versus non-counselor duties. And it can be hard when we're coming to administrators saying, hey, I don't want to do lunch duty, but we don't have a solution maybe in mind. Or we can't show them that, hey, if I wasn't doing lunch duty, I could be running 3 lunch bunch groups. And here's a needs survey that shows you that we need to be running these lunch bunch groups, So I think just coming with data and making sure that you're trying to come to the table with solutions, even saying, hey, let's come together and brainstorm. Can I steal 5 minutes of your time where we can chat this out and I can tell you about how this is taking away from time, direct time with kids. And maybe we can brainstorm some ideas of how we can shift that to look a little bit different. So I think coming with solutions, coming with data, I think that tends to be an administrator's language, but I'll let the actual administrator speak to that.
I think all those are great suggestions. I think I loved what Mallory said. Let's be real here. I think that you have to approach the conversation by being real, and counselors are very skilled in hard conversations, right? That's a gift that we gain through all of the training. And I think if you are in that situation where you're feeling like, man, I just don't know that my principal or assistant principal understands the value I bring to the table, I think you just put it out there in a kind, compassionate, straightforward, and honest way. Can I speak with you? I want to do more to help you and the school. And if you come at it from a place of, rather than you should be doing this, right? Come at it from a place of, I can help you if you allow me to. And here's a way, just like Lyndsey said, here's some data. You know, if I do lunch duty for 2 hours, if you let me help you with this, this is what this could look like, right? So kind of choosing those words so that we don't get into a defensive conversation, I think is wise. And again, like the ODRs is your route in, right? So give me your top 10 frequent flyers. And if you let me work with them during lunch, because my guess is they're also a pain, right? A problem in lunch. So now I've removed the problem. If you let me work with them during lunch, now I'm helping the lunchroom calm down. I'm helping that kid focus in midday. I'm helping, you know, there's dual benefits there. And so a solution like that, I think, again, speaks to that administrators need to be like, okay, how do I handle right now and get through today? So I don't know if that's helpful, but.
Absolutely. And I love how you both said about the solutions. Don't just come in with a list of problems, because you get more bees with honey than vinegar. So
well, and to add to that, Mel, I always encourage my baby counselors to sit back a little bit. I think, you know, I love this about them because this was me. Like, they're excited and fiery and like rearing to go. And they've been taught all this stuff in our program, and I want them to go out there and do all the things, but I always kind of encourage to sit back a little, and observe for a little bit and really get to know the system before you start like diagnosing a system, right? So we've got to understand and know and sit back and watch, and you know, before we jump in and try to, you know, change the whole thing. So I think that is an important piece too, like letting yourself sit back and just learn a little bit before we're quick to jump in.
That's an excellent point. Yes, I love that.
It's so much of it is a two-way street, right? We've got to make sure that we're given a little to get a little kind of thing. And, you know, I oftentimes, you know, at conferences or talking to other counselors, you know, they're like, I'm doing 12 recess duties, and I'm doing lunch duty, and I'm doing bus duty, and I'm the 504 coordinator, and I do state and they're reeling off all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, that is a lot. And that is frustrating because, you know, those are non-duty. Those are things that we shouldn't be doing. But sometimes you're in a system where that's what the counselor has always done. And so it's important. We got to break the system. Then we got to figure out what's our way in. But I think you ladies are on the right track. Let me show you how my time can be better spent. Let me show you what the data says. Let me show you how we can decrease some of these things so that I can help you out and buy you back time, because there are a ton of benefits when you have that good counselor principal relationship, and when the counselor has more time to do our counseling duties, quite honestly, that will buy your school back time as well.
And I love how Lyndsey said the annual administrator counselor conference and getting that meeting scheduled. You know, there's a couple of us that are presenting in a couple of times to administrators or people that are getting their master's in leadership. And that's one of our first things that we talk about. And yes, it is ideal to do that the beginning of the year. But if listeners are listening in and they're like, oh, we haven't done that, start now. ASCA has a beautiful contract already made. It has talking points. So if you're panicking like, oh, I'm new, I didn't do that, or I haven't done that yet, now's the time, baby. You aren't late. It's okay.
I agree. That could. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to add, like, during these conversations, I think from walking in both shoes, right? As a counselor for 5 years, as a principal for 12, principals are, it's a different view of the school. It's rapid fire, quick problem solving, route the concern, right? It's that cadence. Counseling is thoughtful, intention, you know what I mean? Just it takes a little bit more time to deliver results. And so if you can somehow bridge that gap, I think that will also help the relationship. So if you're in a situation where you're not quite sure you're valued and you're doing 12 recess duties, think about how do you bridge, because right now that principal is thinking, I got to have recess covered. right? And I got to have this specials time covered because my teachers aren't getting enough plan. Like that's where they're at, and that's just where I'd be too if I was walking in the shoes of that particular role with those dynamics. And so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So coming in with I love what you said, Hannah, I'll save you time. That's going to catch their ear. You just think of that just as your way in there.
So at ASCA this summer, there was a counselor that was talking about how counselors are like crock pots. We are
Yes.
not microwaves. It takes us a longer time. We want to get to the root of the issue. What I'm hearing you say is that admin are not even microwaves. They're like Instant Pots.
Yes.
They're like, we
Bring
got
that baby on high.
So yeah,
They're air fryers. They're ready.
Yeah, they're the air fryer. Like they are ready to get that done and get it out. So finding that middle ground. But I think there's easy ways, like when you approach your principal, if you know that ahead of time, if you've got all this back end on this kiddo, just give them the facts, Jack, tell them what you're doing, and then let them roll. They don't need to know the whole story. So
I heard a saying once, and I've been guilty of this. Just tell me what time it is. Don't tell me how the clock was built. And that has stuck with me for a long time because as a counselor, I love to like give background and reason, and I want people to believe what I say. So I want to kind of like, tell all of the things that went into it. And I don't know. I feel like that's helped me sometimes, like, no, what time is it? What time is it?
I love that you're saying that too, because I actually think part of what makes a counselor or admin such a great team is I feel like we do come with really different perspectives, and the crock pot microwave thing is definitely true. I think back to I would have students who would be disciplined, and I would be thinking about like the trauma that they had experienced in their lives and what just happened the day before to them, and I'm thinking about all of these different things. We work in the gray as school counselors, like that is where we work. That's where we're comfortable. Administrators have to be a little bit more black and white, but they have to be like, we have to have that balance. Because if we don't, I remember one time going to one of my favorite administrators and saying, after a kid got in trouble for something and just feeling the need to say like all of the reasons why that kid shouldn't have gotten in trouble. And I remember the administrator looking at me and being like, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but at the end there has to be a consequence. Like, and I really respected that and like think about why both points of view are so important. And why both people have a part in this, right? Like both of our perspectives are so important for kids. And both lenses are needed in schools. So I think neither is like right nor wrong. Like both are just necessary in conversations about kids and systems and schools. We do have different perspective, but it's both important.
Yeah, totally agree.
And it's good to hear both perspectives of it too, because when you tell your principal, oh my gosh, all this background that they might not have known, that could change the consequence, right? I mean, it could make it different in some way. So I think that that's important too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, any other benefits that help out, like if you were going to go talk to your admin and like, here is how I can benefit you. Let's talk. Any other things you guys can think of? We talked about time saving. Oh, what about, okay, PD. Think about all the PD that counselors can give to their building. What would be some needed PD that you guys could think of that counselors would be just clutch?
One thing that we're working on this right now in Maize is any tier 1 strategies for behavioral intervention. You got to start there, right? So I just see counselors as a critical piece in that puzzle and helping train up and give some quick strategies that teachers can use, even some better understanding of trauma-informed practices. I mean, the list can go on, but I love that. Great idea.
Yeah, I think, I always thought it was really helpful for administrators and teachers in general. At the very beginning of the year, they need to hear what our role is, how we can help them, how we can serve them. So I always asked for some time at the very beginning when we have all of that PD happening. Can I have just a little bit of time to talk to everybody and just share, maybe some counseling updates, but also like what my role is. I love a good menu of services so that they can understand and know, like, here's things that we can do to help. And I remember having a conversation with my husband one time and he was like, school counselor could do that. And I'm like, yes, like your counselor could do that for you, you know? So just like making sure that they understand and know like how we can serve and help. I think that's a great way to invest time at the beginning of the year. Professional development wise, I think there are endless opportunities. You know, we're easily plugged into, you know, suicide prevention and like those kinds of conversations. But I think more than that, you know, exactly what Dr. Greer was talking about, like we can teach them strategies. I taught trauma-informed strategies to teachers often, you know, just, you know, helping them to understand what kids might look like when they're in trauma in their classrooms, how we can respond to kids when they're, you know, experiencing trauma. You know, when we were starting small groups at Maize South, it was when I was hired, it was the first time we had ran groups at the high school. And so we invested about a lot of intentional time in doing PD for our teachers to know about what groups were, so that when we're showing up, or our poor TAs are showing up at their door trying to pull kids, you know, that teachers were happy to send them, that they understood what was going to be happening at group. We ran like a mock group for them during a PD and just let them do a group activity together. And we literally titled the presentation, "Why You Shouldn't Be Mad at Us When We Take Kids from Your Classes." And, you know, just come at it with a lighthearted perspective, but also like inform, because you know, that buy-in piece at the beginning is going to save you a lot of time later on. So if you can get teachers on your side to know and understand what kids are doing when they're going to the counseling office, that's huge. So I think like really investing time in helping them understand that. But then, yeah, like you were saying, like teaching those strategies, de-escalation strategies. I just had a student who presented to her whole school on calm down kits, because she was going in and doing classroom lessons at the elementary level on calm down kits, and they were putting them in every class. And she did a great little PD for them so that they could understand, like, here's the expectations for these kits in every classroom, so that it's the same whether they're in music or in their homeroom, or, you know, those across the board, so that they're all on the same page. So, you know, I would encourage administrators to ask, you know, if you have an idea and you're like, I'm not super good at that, I don't know that much about that topic, like ask your counselor, hey, what do you know about this? You know, see if they can contribute, you know. And so in those PD days, you know, offer a school counselor a spot. I know I got to go to Maize last year and present a couple of sessions, you know, during they had like a day of like quick PD sessions. And that was so fun to do, and invite your counselors to the table to do those things, because we do have, you know, we're a great resource for schools and for districts. So utilize them where you can.
And Lyndsey, I like how you said, I want to encourage admin to ask. I want to encourage counselors to ask, right? Do those needs assessments, see what your building says the needs are, and then how can you give that back to teachers to help them at the, like Dr. Greer said, on that tier 1 front, because you are going to get a lot of bang for your buck on tier 1. So I think that is an awesome way to make sure that we are, our voices are heard. They know that we're experts in this and we can help you, right? We're here to collaborate with not just admin, but teachers too.
Well, and what we say too is, you know, admin, teachers, you guys are Taylor Swift. You are Post Malone, and we are the backup dancers. We are there to help you look good and put on the show, and let us help you. And education is like a house. You know, you got to build that foundation. And if this kid's going off every single day, let us have them and do that small group. It will benefit not only you, but the whole class, the whole school. So we're not having all these care calls. We're not having everybody in crisis mode. Let us help. And I think you guys mentioned the professional development piece. How awesome is that? And you can show that you're a united front with your admin. It's all about teamwork, baby.
Better yet, say, let's do it together.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah,
let's make this stage together.
Yes, like even if, because a lot of buildings, you always have building time, you know, for your PD, and, you know, go to your principal and say, wow, like I've been noticing, like if you're following up on the ODR conversation, I've been noticing these particular behaviors come up again and again, and use that data to say, can I partner with you? And let's talk through some initial strategies that might help teachers keep kids, also not just me seeing them, but everybody, right? Keep them from getting escalated and sent to the office. Again, I don't know of very many principals that would say, yeah, no thanks. So I mean, that could be another way in. And then if you're a partnership in front of the staff together, then that just continues to build. All these little things will add up and begin to really help you, I think. So.
Well,
I
ladies,
love all this wealth of knowledge. It's so
I was
great.
just going to say the same thing. I was like, ladies have been a wealth of knowledge today.
I love
So
it.
many good thoughts, so many benefits. I feel like I need to get connected with my counselor to
I know.
my admin tomorrow, right? I'm ready to rock it out. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the
Yes, thank you.
hang with kick it with us, I should say. You ladies have been awesome. Lots of great info.
And we always end our podcasts with a fun question.
Oh, good.
So, my girls, if you were any type of candy, what kind of candy would you be and why?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me think. Lyndsey, you go first.
Okay. So
I was going to say, Lyndsey, look, she looks ready. Let's go. Let's hear it.
well, let's be honest. I feel like you guys know me well enough to know that I am like I love candy. Like sweets are my jam. It is so bad. I flew home yesterday and like ate candy in the airport like a child. But my go-to candy, I'm gonna make this work into why I would be this particular candy because it's my favorite. Laffy Taffy, but not like the little ones, like the long rectangular ones with the sprinkles. They don't have
those are
they
fire.
used to, but like the rectangle ones, best candy. I would be that because it's like stretchy and flexible, and I feel like it can be, it can sparkle when it needs to. It can have seeds on it. It can be what it needs to be. But I like the flexibility piece of it. I like change. I like to be, have my foot in a lot of different things. It's fun for me, but I feel like school counselors in general are flexible and, can move with schools in the way that they need them, and can kind of, you could use Laffy Taffy to like fill holes if you needed it to. It would be a really solid substance for that. So I think that I will go with Laffy Taffy.
That's a fantastic answer. And Lyndsey, you're going to laugh because I love those as well. And our Casey's used to sell them and they stopped. And
Ours does. Right down the
to the
street.
manager and I was like, listen, I need that watermelon with the seeds one, but you can get them on Amazon.
The big boxes and at Sam's.
Ugh, genius. Love that
I didn't
answer.
even know they still made it. My the pool rat in me
Yes, that's exactly
loving what you're saying. And I'm like, I haven't seen these since the pool.
They're amazing.
Yep. Hannah, they're the best. I love that answer, Lyndsey. Thank you.
Of course.
All right, Raquel. Can I call you Rocky? I feel like we're friends now.
Yes, I should have said that right at the beginning. Yes,
queen.
everybody calls me Rocky. Ever since I was like, I think 2, probably. In every stage of my life, I think, oh, I'm going to grow up and be Raquel. And then I'm still Rocky, so it's fine.
I still know you like professionally as Rocky, so
yeah, it's not going away. Okay, so the first thing that popped into my mind, you guys remember when I was little, at least, we would have those little pop rocks, and they were in this little bag, and you pour them in, and then like they explode in your mouth. Okay, so I think I would choose that, and the reason is because it's an unexpected pop and surprise and kick, I guess, to use you guys' kicking word. But I like that because I think sometimes people look at me 5'2", right, and fairly small female, and I get things sometimes like, oh wow, like, oh, that's such a big job, or something, and I just would want to be like, pow, I'm a pop rock, I can do this.
I love that.
And those are in small packages, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
And those are so fun because you love it so much you want to keep going back for more.
Yeah.
So exactly. Love that.
Great answer. I love it.
Can I tell you what I thought you were going to say, Rocky?
Yeah, sure.
Rock candy, like the lollipops.
Oh, because of my name.
Because your name. But Pop Rocks, much better because that also goes with your name. So fun. Well, thank you all so much. I feel like we could just keep this podcast rolling all day long. You guys are a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for all of your service to all of your staff and students. Amazing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. This was so fun. You guys are awesome too. I just want to say, like, and I know this is counselors in general, but you guys are just so thoughtful and kind, and I just appreciate the time with you, and anything we can ever do to help support what you're doing, just give us a holler.
You guys are too good.
Girls helping girls. I love it.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, one more time. Who run the world?
Girls.
Girls.